And I'm going to show the video. I'm sorry. There are a lot of videos.
Rethought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. Rethought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
From the New Thought Media Network, this is the Conscious Reality Show with your host, Sara Stevens Nichols, where conversation plus intention reveals a new reality. Every week, Sara and her guests will discuss what they know and what they don't. Experimenting in front of everyone with what else is possible. I'm Sunny Childs, and here is your host, Sara Stevens Nichols.
Thank you, Sunny. I am Sara Stevens Nichols, and I am thrilled to welcome all of you to our first episode of the Conscious Reality Show, the show currently without a tagline. Well, and I had to make this show. I had to make the Conscious Reality Show because I'm writing a book called How to Know What You Know. So it's about consciously listening to what is yours to do. And I was told to do this show. And since I was writing the book, I had to actually do the show and do what I was told to do for once. So I have a vision of every person on Earth, every person on the planet consciously creating their own reality and co-creating a world that works for everyone. But that's not exactly what's happening now. It's not how most people, including myself, see the world on a daily basis. I often slip into, even though I am a student of science of mind and quantum tools for changing reality, including access consciousness, I often slip into a sense that what I'm seeing outside of me is real, it's fixed, it's something I can do nothing about, and I am a victim of it in some way. So I'm actually going to start, even though I really like to be funny and I would like to see this as a comedy show, and it is going to be partly a comedy show, I would like to start with a treatment, a consciousness treatment for the escalation and war between Israel, Iran, Lebanon, and Hezbollah that is happening right now. So just take a breath with me and allow it to return us to the only thing ever happening here, the one heart, one mind, one infinite presence, all knowing, all powerful, all redeeming, all delivering, beyond time, beyond space, beyond expectation, beyond limitation, beyond lack, beyond precedent, beyond the beyond. And I know that this unlimited power of the one is living out its perfect life as me today. And as I know that for me, I know that for everyone in the world. I know that each of us is a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in a human body on the human plane. And that includes everyone in Israel, everyone in Lebanon, everyone in Iran, everyone in Hezbollah. So I speak my word for I destroy and uncreate anywhere I have believed that somehow escalating a conflict that I have with someone else is the way to get to peace. Everywhere I decided that if I stop being angry and if I stop hurting and if I stop acting out and if I stop letting other people know that I'm angry, that somehow I am going to be a victim and I will never, ever be safe. And everything that is times a gazillion. Are we all willing to destroy and uncreate right now? Yes. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine, shorts, boys, po, that's and beyonds. That's a access consciousness phrase that deletes every layer of the onion. And everywhere I thought that enlisting others in my cause to fight and to be angry and to scream and to yell and to be violent is the only way. Am I willing to destroy and uncreate all that right now? Am I willing to remember Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King? Am I willing to remember that there is a whole nother way to change the world, to change reality? Yes. Thank you, Spirit, for what else is possible operating here in me, in this show, in this conversation, in the world, in everyone. Thank you for showing us again and again that all of it can change in a moment and we can reveal a brand new reality. And so it is. Amen. So here on this show, the Conscious Reality Show, I want to talk to people who are interested in consciously creating a new reality, including people who are trying to change the world. And some of those people might not be succeeding and some of them might. And so just talking about that, what works and what doesn't in changing the world and whether the world needs to be changed or whether our consciousness needs to be changed. And also people who want help with their lives, their bodies, their finances, their relationships, and seeing a new reality in that world that is our private worlds that we all have. So, and people who want and are working on all three. And actually, my first guest is a person who is on all three. My first guest here is Russ Haan. Russ is, why is he on the show? Why is he my first guest? He's amazing. He's gettable. He's someone who would actually say yes to me when the show is brand new. And he is, even though he is one of the most discerning creative talents I know, he's also somehow non-judgmental. And I know that he's going to love this show regardless of how it shows up. And he's going to love me regardless of how it shows up. And what else about Russ? Well, Russ is, who is this guy? Russ Haan is a filmmaker and entrepreneur who has inexplicably enjoyed a fun and fulfilling life so far. Anyway, he's invented and created so many things: advertising, greeting cards, iPhone apps, documentary style films. Russ has done lots of different things. And yet, actually, he claims that he's a little more proud about the people things that have filled and shaped his world. And he lives in Venice Beach, Southern California, with his partner. Russ, welcome. So glad to have you here. Hi.
Thank you. It's so funny to be introduced. It just sounds like a foreign person.
Have you never been introduced before?
Oh, I have, but it always surprises me.
Who is that guy? Right?
Exactly.
Who are they talking about?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, but you're right. No matter, even if this is totally bombs, I'll still love you. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Well, let's see. How are you doing? How's your mother?
She's fully recovered from the the THC overdose that I forced upon her 2 days ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was not the best strategy.
What happened?
Nothing. She just got off a direct flight from Florida to Los Angeles. So she got up at 2 a.m. my time, hopped on a plane, flew here. I picked her up at the airport. She's 83, so she was a little bit tired and a little bit anxious. And we'd already planned to go do some stuff immediately from the airport.
Right.
So I said, well, Mom, I've got these. You can take one. It'll just take the edge off. It's like half of a cocktail, but you won't feel sleepy or whatever. And so she's trusting. No one should trust me in this category. It's not my expertise. So I gave it to her. And then in about 20 minutes, I can feel this. I'm like, oh, this is great. She's going to be relaxed. Stop number 1, which was my partner's mother's house. And she's like, I don't think I can speak. And I'm like, what? And then we went to a cemetery and it just got worse. And it got worse and worse and worse until she literally just couldn't move or talk or anything. And she just laid down on her side in the back seat of the car. And we just kept our day going. She's fine, she said-ish. Well, she sort of used words. She just kind of, I'm okay. And she just kept napping. And so we left her in the car at the cemetery. We left her in the car at this restaurant in the shade with the windows cracked, very much like you'd do with a nice little poodle. And so she slept for 6 solid hours. And then I got her back to the bungalow and she slept more. She finally woke up right when I was supposed to be on a phone call with you all. And I made her dinner and things. And then later that night, I tracked down the original source of where this tablet came from. And it wasn't the 2.5 milligram one. It might have been 20 milligrams.
Oh my gosh.
It might have only been 10 because I don't know if I gave her a half or a whole one. But I basically wiped her out. But she had an amazing night of sleep.
Well, you're not a good son. I just hope you understand that.
Well, I think any son who picks up his 83-year-old mother and takes her to the cemetery immediately after the airport in a drugged state is the definition of quality son.
Quality son. Yeah. Well, it's good you didn't just leave her there saying she'd eventually.
Oh, there were so many possibilities that could have been so good. Yeah. So anyhow.
So from my understanding, the way I think of it, there's very little you haven't done. You've invented games, you've written books, you've had a successful line of greeting cards for a while. So what's the most fun project you ever worked on? What's the most, fun project?
Wow.
You had the most fun.
I tend to only have projects where fun is one of the operative words. So there's 2 projects that I would say come to mind. One might have been the most fun, and one was super fun, really fulfilling, and kind of tragic, but then awesome. So the most fun project, I think that there's several, and they're all related. One was when I got to work with the U.S. Paralympics, and just doing these videos and communications materials about these disabled, that was the words out the window now, but these absolutely spectacular elite athletes who happen to be blind or happen to be missing limbs or have cerebral palsy or little people or whatever the particular difference is from, quote, the norm. Right. That project was just so fun because, again, you're around these people at the top of everything that they've ever wanted to do, and you get all that energy, and then you're also reminded these people are better than almost everyone else on the planet, and they to the rest of us seem like they might be missing something, and yet they just aren't. So that was a really, really, really fun project. It was exciting and exhilarating and inspirational, and I just got to go all over the world and meet these people and see them in action. And I had one of my favorite moments in my whole life was walking with all of the Paralympic athletes into the Atlanta Paralympic Games. And you're in this crowd of athletes, all the US athletes, and you walk into a stadium of 70,000 people screaming for you. And you have to remember that almost for you, I mean, they're going crazy. And the vast majority of these athletes don't even have audience. They compete in front of almost no one.
Wow.
So,
well, I know how they feel.
Yeah, right. Just like this. So that was the fun one. The one that's all of it, then that was kind of horrifying, and then just so magical at the end was my nephew, and this is my brother's son. When he was in 14 or 15, was having a terrifically difficult time at school, and after a chat with his parents and my partner at the time, just went and picked him up from school one day, and he moved in with us. And my personal goal for that, from the moment he was in that house, was I just want him to be alive when he's 18. That was the goal. Just because what I was seeing in this young man was just fear and anger and all these things, and not doing well in school, and his parents were exhausted, and not because of him. I mean, his parents are crazy. Clear,
who was the client in this situation?
No one.
No client? You just took it upon yourself to save your nephew?
Yeah, because I watched him, and I thought, this kid is smart and funny and really deranged, and he has all the hallmarks of things that I really like. And but he didn't just know. I just felt like he really needed focus around him and really endless and creative support. And I do know that I am kind of endlessly creative, even though I don't really describe myself that way. So anyway, he was with us for a long while, until, due to a circumstance, he got picked up by the police while he was still a minor, and he didn't want to involve us with the police, us as me and my partner. He was, he's thoughtful that way. But they called his parents, and they shipped him off to California back to his family. So, and then I hadn't really seen much of him. And I just this last weekend came back from his wedding, and it was like, you just couldn't see more love than you got with that kid and his friends and his wife and his kids. And so that was the super fun, very hard and challenging, and when he was taken away, truly horrible. But look at the end of the game was he's alive, so that worked, and he's happy, and he's got an amazing infrastructure, and it was just being on cloud nine seeing him over the weekend. So anyway, those are the two. I don't know. You asked my favorite things, and I guess they do both involve people. So
I love that you that one of those projects was a client paying you, and one of those projects was your nephew. That's beautiful. And they are on the same level, or maybe not, in your mind. So congratulations.
The nephew is the best. I mean, I literally was able to tell him, probably for the first time, I said that all the things I've done in my life, having him in my life was the best decision I ever made. And I don't know what that means to him, but it meant a lot to me. So.
Well, listen, there's a comment that I'd like to show, and I'm going to use it to transition us into talking about your weird relationship with money and the project that you're bringing forth. So this is from Lolita K, and she says, paradigm shift equals conscious reality. There it is on the screen. Okay. I know paradigm shift is a fundamental change in the basic concepts and practices of a scientific discipline, as coined by Thomas Kuhn and an American philosopher. Okay. Well, that's a question. Let's just talk about a recent paradigm shift and conscious reality that you may have experienced, right? What is your weird relationship with money, and how has it changed or morphed since you read Busting Loose from the Money Game and took that class with me that I taught on it called Quantum Freedom Busting Loose?
Okay, so yeah, I've always had a weird relationship with money, and partly because it just didn't make sense to me. Let's just talk with the physicality of money first. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to this place, a store, and I'm gonna have a piece of, this is way before credit cards even, a piece of paper that I somehow was given because I did something, and now this piece of paper is going to represent the energy that I put into that, and now I'm going to exchange it for a set quantity of onions,
Right.
and that is my measurement for the worth of the work and the energy that I put into something completely unrelated. And I don't know if any of you think that, but that is just the weirdest set of connections ever.
Well, yeah, not to mention that you value your worth entirely in onions.
Well, I say onions because back when I finished college, I had no money, no job, no nothing, and I literally would like, what's the cheapest food you could buy? Because I was really believed in all of that, and that this equals this equals this. I would add up all the totals before I would go to the store, because I would look in the advertising for the grocery store, because I didn't want to be embarrassed at the cash register by not having an extra dollar and having to put something back. So I've always thought that was weird, and I always use this metaphor as well, which is, if everyone was paid in cows, would anybody want to be a millionaire?
I think you need to unpack that a little bit more.
Well, if you were paid in cows and that was the source of how you got by,
yeah,
one cow, useful, makes milk, you can eat it, but then you kill it, it's done. 10 cows, a lot of milk, some meat, maybe some clothes. They kind of repopulate themselves and they kind of become self-sustaining. That's pretty decent. 1,000 cows is starting to get a little hairy because you need some space, and that's a lot of stuff to manage. But 1 million cows?
Yeah.
How about 1 billion cows? Do you need 280 billion cows? Yeah. And so it starts to me kind of.
I guess if Elon Musk were paid in cows or whatever,
he'd be covered in shit.
Or is it Jeff Bezos that wants to go to Mars? They would just stand on top of all the cows to get to it.
There you go. So I get the construct of having something to stand for something else, but it's always I've from a very young age have had that weird sense that this is the weirdest agreement. And then I think it's interesting as I've gotten older that this agreement works across any social and economic level. It reaches across religions. It reaches across cultures. That you can have different, monetary systems in one country or a region, and another one, and people still buy into the idea that somehow this is all related and there's an equality in it. And I don't feel that that's the case. So that's kind of my own setup. Years ago, I started realizing that, what's funny, in all these businesses I've had and all the projects, I somehow always get by. I've never made a lot. I've never been rich. But I've never been poor. And there always seems to be just enough because I really believe that I'm doing the right thing. I'm right for me. I'm really thoughtful about how I treat the people around me and what's the impact of what I'm making or doing and stuff like that. And I swear, I can't tell you how many times in my businesses when I've had staff, like, I have no money, payrolls in 12 hours, I'm never going to make it. And then a check comes in for $300 more than the payroll. And maybe the payroll is $40,000 or $100,000 or $70,000, but it always has worked out.
I just got finished reading Autobiography of a Yogi, which was written in the 1940s, but I only read it recently, and about Paramahansa Yogananda, who brought essentially spiritual yoga to the Western world.
Oh, right.
And so it's his autobiography. And when he got to the US, he basically had no money whatsoever. And he was supposed to start an entire ministry of I don't know if they call it a ministry, but just to spread yoga and the good news of the mental and spiritual yoga. And every step And he ended up, as maybe people know, because all the things called Ananda in this country descend from it. There are these gorgeous parcels of land with beautiful, beautiful sanctuaries on them all over the country that were created out of his coming to the New World with no money in the 1940s. And every step of the way, the money would just come right when they needed it to. He never had any idea. He wasn't out there writing grants, or.
Well, that's kind of what's happened with me. And you can call it luck, but eventually, I'd say maybe 10, 12 years ago, I started going, I need to just trust that I'm going to be okay. And granted, okay, I'm a white male in America. I have amazing friends. I have a tight family. I start saying to myself, if everything fails, what happens? And I'm like, I can call this friend. I can sofa surf. I just feel like I have a safety net in that sense too. So maybe that's given me a sense of comfort as well. I feel like I see it as a safety net. Maybe other people would not. But I've just decided to stop worrying about that if I'm going down a path that feels really solid and correct inside of me, I'm just going to be fine. I just need to run, and know that it's going to be okay. And so far, so good. And I've had huge changes where I've made, okay, I'm going to change and do this thing. I'm going to start this organization. I'm going to try this project. I'm going to try this board game. I'm going to do this film thing. And in all of them, something wonderful has happened, and I've not had to crash on the jagged rocks below yet.
So in the busting loose, you're breaking up a little bit. In the busting loose model, what did you learn that explained what was happening to you that you had already been your experience for so long?
Well, I thought busting loose put some structure around it, and somebody who actually thought about it much more than I have. I don't tend to ponder those things.
What was going on?
Well, was whether you buy into it or not, is that every single person has the ability to create an entire world, an entire reality that is just theirs for their amusement as a greater spiritual being or bucket of energy or whatever you want to call what it is. And money, and it's a game. This whole thing is a giant game, which is funny because I've always approached life as, is this going to be fun or not fun? And games are meant to be fun.
Okay.
And the fun thing about the money game is that it's this game that we've created with the world's weirdest, most bizarre rules. And I like that he said that you let money be this rule that, you are going to be measured at every step by this thing called money. So imagine if you're playing soccer. The measurements of soccer are how fast can you go in this ridiculously confined space, and you can't use the limbs that you were born with or invented for yourself, but whatever. You have to just run around and only use your feet in this weird time thing. And, it's a bizarre, all sports are this bizarre construct. They're crazy. Right. And I like that he used that analogy in there. And he said, well, your spiritual being wants a really damn good time. And that your spiritual being is complicated and smart and crafty. And you have to trick it so hard so it has a fun time in this game. So money is the weirdest of all the constructs, I think, that you could create. And then the rest of reality is pretty hilarious too. So when I read that, I thought that was pretty interesting. Did I buy into me inventing my entire reality all the time? That was a newish concept for me. I mean, I always kind of understood manifestation.
Yeah.
But to invent everything, like you and inventing this show just to give my little spiritual being a big jolly for the morning, that seemed like a lot to take in. But I really did hone in on the money part. And his comment on the money part was, it just doesn't matter. You just need to ignore that, and you can make even more things in your personal game exciting and happy and not feel judged and negative or held back.
All right. Well, let's hold on to that thought because we're going to need to take a break to honor our sponsors. And
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And we're back. Thank you, Sunny, for taking us into that. So, Russ, I think, and I may be making this up, that you basically took that class and it explained to you why things had been showing up so weird with money for so long. But it also seemed to, I could be wrong, give you kind of I want to take credit for something amazing about you instead of just it being all about you, of course, is the whole point of this. But so
I owe to you my very being, right?
Your very being, not your mother who you recently dosed, but me. So I heard you and I did the same for me. Give yourself permission to ask the question, what else is possible? And how does it get even better than this? And if money is really a game, and if money is really this construct that is just there, then what difference can I make in the world that's even more interesting than I have before? I mean, you already have made this big difference all over the place. You make a difference everywhere in your life. And you had been working in an area and learning about rheumatic heart disease. And I'd like Sunny, if she could, to cue up and play for us a clip that you recently made, if you don't mind, to show us what you're kind of exploring now.
Okay.
You got that, Sunny? We can't hear you if you're talking, Sunny, and I can't see the other.
It'll be up in just a second.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sunny.
I love that voice from nowhere.
Yes, the voice of God.
We went into this ward, and there was this large room of about 12 young men, all below the age of 20, all in horrible heart failure. I asked what was the cause they were admitted, and they said rheumatic heart disease.
It's a kind of an orphan disease because who looks after? Should it be a cardiologist? Should it be a pediatrician? Should it be a pediatric cardiologist? Should it be a nurse? So all of us are seeing these patients, but none of us are kind of taking responsibility for these patients.
As a cardiologist, the worst feeling is when you cannot help a patient.
But you try and do your best, whatever you can for those unfortunate patients.
I can say that overall, the population knowledge about rheumatic heart disease, even in an endemic country, they know almost nothing about this.
People don't understand, even some of our doctors, they don't understand that a simple sore throat can go on to develop such a deadly disease, right? Rheumatic heart disease. And that's perhaps the irony that we are still not able to get rid of this disease, which is entirely preventable.
It's extremely simple to treat a sore throat or to prevent the children to have a more complicated strep infection. It's so easy.
because what you need is basically penicillin for 10 days. And that comes at, peanuts, really, very, very little cost. The good thing is the streptococcus still very, very sensitive to penicillin. So there is.
So I'm just going to stop it there.
Sure.
And so let me see if I understand this correctly, Russ. Rheumatic heart disease is killing young people all over the world.
Yep.
And also it is affecting and changing and perhaps ruining the lives of many of them that aren't being killed.
Correct.
And it's entirely preventable just by treating strep throat and having penicillin. Is that what this is saying?
Yes, exactly that.
Oh my God.
It's the craziest thing.
Clip, I think.
I'm sure she's working on that. No, here's the thing. I mean,
There's really no need to look elsewhere. Just give penicillin.
No, I mean, you can just take it down. We will. I don't think we don't need to watch.
No, we don't need that anymore.
Want to talk about it? Yeah.
So no, here's the deal. So we don't. If you get strep throat in the U.S. or Europe or most other mid-developed countries, you get a sore throat. You're like, your mom's like, oh, we should check and see the doctor or whatever, or the school nurse. And like, oh, you have strep. And then you get a shot of penicillin, or you get a little Z-pack, you will, of like antibiotics that are related to penicillin for 5 days. Done and gone. That's it. But let's say you live in a country that's poorer, doesn't have access to healthcare. Let's say you're a Native American living in Arizona. Just if you really want to have a proof point, that's where you don't have access to health care. You're not close to a hospital. You get strep throat. Your mom or your dad or whatever looks at it and says, "Oh, you got a sore throat. Here, have some hot tea and some honey, and and it goes away. And it goes away in 4 or 5 days. Done." Then, but in a number of cases, it won't be all of them. Then that strep might come back and you might get it again, or it might progress into something called rheumatic fever. And rheumatic means of the joints. So this rheumatic fever makes your joints ache, and especially like your elbows and your knees and your jaw, and it really aches, it really hurts, and you get a fever. But if you're 8 years old and you tell your family, my knees hurt, my elbows hurt, my jaw hurts, what are you going to say to them? Growing pains. Those are growing pains. And that's valid because people have growing pains with those kinds of things. And you know what? If you just relax for a couple of days and do this, it'll go away. And sure enough, it goes away. But it's the same thing as the strep throat, but now it's affected the joints. But it goes away again. And now it might go away for years. And you won't feel anything. You won't know anything. But it could be, again, a subset of that group with rheumatic fever. That same bacteria that's caused the strep throat, that caused the rheumatic joint thing, the rheumatic fever, is now attacking the valves in your heart. And so now you're 13, you're 14, you're 15, you're male and female, although it really hits women a little bit harder. But all of a sudden, like, you go up the stairs and you can't breathe as well. You can't run. You get tired easily. Maybe your stomach becomes distended. And what's happening is your heart valves are so destroyed, the blood can't move forward or backwards. It just starts sagging, and you really start approaching possible heart failure. And let's say you're a female, imagine if you're 11 years old in a culture where women aren't maybe equal as men, and you are marrying them off, and you have a distended belly, you look pregnant. And if you look pregnant at 12 or 13 in certain cultures, that's not so good if you're not married. Or, and like, I literally know a woman, she was thrown out when she was 11, thrown out of the family because she had a distended belly. They thought she was possessed or pregnant, and she was done. It was over. Her life was over.
So, Russ, I know you went to both Rwanda and India and studied, learned, I mean, you were there to create a documentary experience, but you learned about rheumatic heart disease in both those cases. And it seems like recently or maybe you knew the whole time, but the penny dropped that this was preventable, that it really came down to penicillin. What did that lead you to be excited about, and what have you been exploring since then?
Well, yeah. So, I've been in Rwanda, Brazil, Peru, Nepal.
Oh, so many places.
China, India, all over the place on this particular topic. But the topic was rheumatic heart disease. Which
right.
And here's the thing, rheumatic heart disease is non-communicable. It's very, very serious. And until you understand how you get to it, it's like this little bubble of a problem that the world, even the WHO, the World Health Organization, they're focusing on this. They're trying to stop it, but they're not they're trying to treat it. And what they're not doing is stopping the pipeline. They're treating something that's happening right now. And get this, in most of these countries, rheumatic heart disease is what is behind 50% of all the open heart surgeries. Half. Think of how expensive an open heart surgery is. And so I was doing this and listening to these stories and learning more about the disease, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a cardiologist, I'm just the film guy in the background.
Right.
But I was like, what is going on? How come yes, you could treat this problem, but if you don't stop the pipeline, you're going to be perpetually treating the same problem. And with a greater and greater population in these poor countries, you're never going to catch up, and you're going to overrun the healthcare system. And I thought,
and didn't this clip, either on screen or when I watched it beforehand, say that it's actually very inexpensive to give penicillin?
Yes. Penicillin treatment, like let's say you're in India, a penicillin treatment for strep throat is less than $1.
Wow.
Less than $1. But an open heart surgery or a transcatheter surgery, I don't want to get into all the different options there, but a heart surgery is, even in India, is $6,000, $10,000, maybe more. And that's just the surgery, not the aftercare and the lifelong problems you have anyway. So you're talking $1 to prevent it, minimum $10,000.
Yeah.
Minimum in any country in the world to treat it. And that treatment is temporary and forever commits you to a lifetime of medical care.
So expensive and so horrible for the person, for the family, for the
family. You're talking families who don't have money to start with.
They're just trying to get by. Yeah. Whatever.
Exactly.
So Lily asked us, I don't know if she's asking, is this a paradigm shift, or is conscious reality the same as a paradigm shift? Do we need a paradigm shift here? And what is that background noise? I'm not sure.
Probably a jet taking off, because I'm near an airport.
Oh, right. Do we need a paradigm shift here? What do we need? And what have you been able to stir up in terms of new possibilities
so
here?
I think her question's a good one, which is, yes, you need a paradigm shift. And sometimes that paradigm shift is just as simple as connecting the dots of things, or reminding people that you're looking at a pinpoint, rheumatic heart disease. That paradigm shift could just be step back a little bit and see strep throat, rheumatic fever, rheumatic heart disease. Maybe they should all be called strep throat, strep fever, strep heart. So that sounds so dumb, but think of what that does. That's a paradigm shift. That paradigm shift has to occur in the medical community and the science community and the pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
So yes, it needs a paradigm shift. And what happened for me was I was literally watching and filming these things one day, and I'm going, I'm a communicator. I've got a biology background. I know global marketing. I understand enough about the medical side. Maybe all these things are just being thrown at me one after the other. I mean, I know 50 different nonprofit organizations around the world. I know the people who run them because I filmed them. I've met with them, ministries of health in all these countries. Why don't I try and just be a little instigator? Maybe I can be the catalyst. And maybe the better way to describe it is I'm the paradigm shifter. And can't, you know, and you wonder sometimes, you know, you're on your bike riding down the thing and planes are flying. You think I'm literally this little speck, but why not? Why can't one little speck change the way the world ripples a little bit?
Right. And I think that's part of creating a conscious reality is, and a new reality is picturing a different one. But part of it is also just getting out of that idea that what we see in front of us is just fixed and cannot be affected by what we do, and that we aren't going to make a difference.
Yeah, and so and to kind of elaborate on things that go back to the money game and anything. So the moment I came up with this idea that maybe I could help here, I was in Brazil with a group of people who were trying to figure out how to get more doctors to know how to manage rheumatic fever via treating strep throat. And that's when I thought, wow, the science community and the doctor community, the medical community aren't talking to each other in a way that makes sense. They're saying the same things and going over and over. So I left there thinking, well, wouldn't it be great if we could come up with a plan to end this that was somehow more holistic, get all the different people together from, you know, the stakeholders. I don't like words like that, but just all the different people that matter, the healthcare people, the parents, the kids, the school teachers, the politicians, all of that. So my next project was a trip to India to film a group of people who came together to create the strategic framework to eliminate rheumatic heart disease. I'm like, wow, I'm literally now going to go film the people who are going to create a plan.
Now,
it's like they're going to create it for me.
Did you make that happen in the sense, conscious? I mean, how did that happen?
I don't know. I mean, the nonprofit that sent me to Brazil to film this education program for doctors created this other program in this other place, but they didn't know that while I was in Brazil, I'm like, I think I should take this on, but man, I need a strategy to do this.
Wow.
I don't know how, I'm so far over my head. Like, who am I going to say I'm going to run around and go to Rwanda and talk to the Ministry of Health? I don't know. And
so that is an example of what else is possible, and something
100%. I literally had that picture in my head of I need a strategy. I need kind of a map on how to do this. And my next project, without any, I mean, I didn't picture honestly, I guess what I really pictured was no more rheumatic heart disease in any of these operating rooms, and 50% of a country's medical budget suddenly being freed up
for other things.
To treat other things. Imagine if you were in a country as big as Brazil, 270 million people, same size as the US roughly, and half of your heart surgery budgets could have been prevented and used for something else. That's so much healthcare. And I pictured all that, but then boom, this thing came up with India. And then I
did not get that chain of events somehow, even though you and I have talked about this before. I did like that. I was like, the India, was that cause or effect? Of course, that's how everything is in the universe. So let's talk about you for a second. This is all about you and what you're creating, but let's talk about what's happening in your own body and soul. And is there any weird stuff happening that you could use a little help with? To even more pave the way for bringing forth what you're here to do and what you're doing.
Well, just so you know that my world doesn't always like giant master plans of changing the world coming in a silver platter. No, I couldn't feel my level of anxiety about all this and my self-doubt and how do I jump from a job where I'm being paid to make films for people to becoming a global advocate for a forgotten disease? How am I going to live? How am I going to pay rent? How am I going to help support my mom if I need to? I'm in a total whirlpool of potential anxiety and disaster at the moment. My mom wants to have a different living situation. There's no money, whatever that means, to finance her moving or a new place. If I jump into this, I have no income, and I don't have the means or the savings to be self-funded forever. And so, yeah, I'm kind of like trying to make sure that I'm not panicking of like, I'm so far in over my head on this. I'm already talking to people all over the world like, hey, could you be my advisor? Could you do this? Could you do this? Could you help here? I'm asking all these things out there for some help and support. The amazing thing is every single one of them has gone, oh my God, what a curious time for you to call. This is aligning exactly with what some of the things we're doing. And so I'm getting this huge global synergy on that project, the rheumatic heart disease project. But I've also on things like my personal side just decided I'm just not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna go, like today, I'm gonna go look at apartments and condos for my mom with no way of paying for them or whatever yet, because I know it's going to work out. And it might not be that condo or that thing, but if I put into motion some tiny little infinitesimal piece of the vision that I see later, something's going to happen. Something will happen. I don't know what it is yet, but yeah.
That may be
like
enough.
I could use help on all of those things.
That may be enough, and it will be enough because that's how you are and that's how consciousness is. But let's also see what we can do about just you actually knowing in real time so that you don't have to have this part of it. So take a breath with me.
All right.
And just close your eyes and take a big, nice, deep breath. And picture right now, what will your life be like in 5 years? No, not what will it feel like in 5 years? And we're pushing it out that far because you can't possibly know, right? It's the thinking out of it. What will your life feel like in 5 years if you continue on this current trajectory? And just breathe into your chest and feel, into your body, does it feel light and expansive? Or does it feel constricted or somewhere in between?
Do you want me to answer or just think?
Yeah, answer.
Oh, it's beyond light. It's giddy, laughing, so joyful. I mean, I'm just having a blast. I mean, there's no question about that.
All right. And so, with your mother's life and finding an apartment, and a perfect place for her to live, what will your life be like in 5 years feel like in 5 years with relationship to your mother and knowing what has happened with her?
After I purged the dark thoughts that are funny but not dark. No, that also feels very, very light. I mean,
very light.
No, I mean,
so
you're going to be hard pressed for me to come up with a dark.
So take that. I don't know why I'm having you do this. This isn't something I've ever done before. I want you to sort of scoop that light up to the top of your head with your hands. Mm-hmm. Scoop that light that you feel and just pull it down into your present reality, into the top of your head, through your body, through all your energy centers.
So I'm scooping it up here. Oh, it is kind of fun. I can see that sort of.
Yeah, kind of like
smash it all in. I'm more patting myself and pushing it in.
It's going in through the chakra on the top of your head.
Through my bald spot.
Through your bald spot, down through all your other body parts, all the way down through your knees and down into the ground. Mm-hmm. And do that one more time. All that light, all that knowing. We're just going to take this, or actually, I'm just going to take this into another treatment. This treatment is for you and your project. And then that's actually going to close it out. All right.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to say before I do that? Any place you want to ask? Sunny's been putting up various hashtags and places to go to get more information, and those will all.
I don't have any other questions. I mean, I could chat with you for years on.
Yes.
There's lots of layers, and I know I can be kind of on the flip or superficial side of it.
No, you haven't been at all. If anything, that's been your host. All right, so let's just take a breath with me, and just knowing that reuniting with the only thing ever happening here, the one heart, one mind, one infinite presence, beyond time, beyond space, beyond expectation, beyond limitation, beyond precedent, that is living out its perfect life as me and as Russ and as his mom and as his partner and as all these people in the world who are affected by rheumatic heart disease now, and in one reality in the future, and in another reality, not at all. Spiritual beings having a spiritual experience in a human body on the human plane. So I just speak my word for great gratitude. Gratitude that Russ Haan has stepped forward and received his calling and stepped out on onto the clouds without anything apparently underneath him. He is pulling together what else is possible in the world. He is allowing the scientists, the brains, the government, the money, the foundations to all, he is creating a context with his humility and his vision, a container into which all the resources of the world, mental, financial, emotional, spiritual, pour. And this is such an easy fix. This is such a thing that can be done and 100% make a massive change in the lives of so many people, especially in the developing world. And therefore, it is done. There is great interest, there is great joy, there is great flow, and all the fictional and apparently real money in the world flows through it to give Russ a profound living so that he can support his mother and at the same time bring this all forth. I know that there is a perfect way for his mom to live in his area now, and that it doesn't matter what the apparent prices are or costs or the apparent bank accounts are, that there is a way, and it all comes together and it all 100% reveals itself and shows itself now. And I know that Russ can let go. He can let go, and he can let consciousness deliver through him as it always has. And he can trust that what has always been true will continue to be true. That he is a vessel through which all this great fun stuff happens, and that it all blesses him and his mother and his partner and the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for what else is possible here, and how does it get even better than this? And I let go, and I let consciousness. And so it is.
Thank you. That was very nice.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Russ, for being on the show. I so appreciate your being here, and we will put all those thoughts in the description on YouTube where people can replay and share and click through to support what's going on here. And now it's time to know about next week's guest. So that is Leah Booth. Leah is is in and of herself fascinating and wonderful and is an editor, but she is mostly coming on to allow me to spend the bulk of the time doing a full consciousness session with her to explore her chronic pain and chronic experiences and see what else is possible in her body. So if you know anybody who has struggled with that, it'd be great for them to come on and get a dose of it too. And let's just take it out, Sunny. Look at all those upcoming guests.
That looks great.
Yeah. 2 weeks from now, Bill McGavern, environmental leader, will be on to tell us how to vote in the California election on ballot propositions. So if you vote in California, you want to be there. And
Thanks to our guest, to host Sara Stevens Nichols, and to the New Thought Media Network. I'm Sunny Childs, producer of The Conscious Reality Show. Join us live next Wednesday at 9 a.m. or stream the show at your convenience. Subscribe to Conscious Reality Show YouTube channel so you never miss a show. If you'd like to learn more about us, check out www.sarastevensnichols.com.